Alright, so we put the drone up in the air. Alex and Sarah are up here with the 9560 and the 8360 with both Pottinger discs. Carovail's actually here right now with their fertilizer. It's an air seeder spreader. Air spreader is what it is. And they're putting on the fertilizer with the alfalfa seed, and we're putting down some fescue along with some Timothy. So he's up on the upper side of this farm here now, on the other side of this hedgerow. Sarah's running the 9560 with this Pottinger Terra disc. Now we're just going over it with this tool here. Carovail's here, they're spreading on the fertilizer and the alfalfa seed and the Timothy and whatever. Then we'll go in with the roll of harrow, and we'll just use the packers that are on the roll of harrow to just kind of pack the soil down, and it'll kind of pack the seeding in as well. That works really good. Now, in the past, we have chisel plowed after we have harvested the wheat, chisel plowed, disc, and then run the roll of harrow. Then we go in with the grain drill, and then we go back in with the roll of harrow again to pack the seedings down. Now this particular field, or this part of the farm here, we're actually putting a mixed stand of alfalfa, Timothy, and fescue. The rest of the ground that we're seeding down, we're going to seed down with just alfalfa. So we felt it was easier to get Carovail to come in here and use their air seeder than it would be to have somebody mix up the alfalfa and the Timothy and whatever. So they're doing that with their spreader. We'll go up and take a visit with them here in a minute. We're going to come up to this upper side of the field where Alex is running the 8360 and the smaller Pottinger Terra disc that we have. This Terra disc here is it's an 8 meter, or is it a 6 meter? It's a 6 meter, so it's like 20 feet. And the Terra disc that Sarah's using is a 10 meter, so it's like 33 feet or something. So this 20-foot implement that is in behind this 8360 is a little small for it, but that's the only tractor we had to pull it with, so that's what we're using. We've got these set quite aggressive, so that they're doing more or less some full-on tillage. We've also used these to do some finishing rather, after we've chisel plowed just before the corn planter. So we kind of pick the discs up a little bit and don't have them work as aggressive. And they work quite well. When you're not using them all aggressively, they pull real easy, but once you get them down into the ground where you want it to actually do something, they pull hard. This one larger unit here, we did have it on the 8320 here earlier this spring, and it'll handle it, but it doesn't quite handle it like this 9560 does. The 9410 is sized about right. The 9560 is more or less overkill for this size implement. And you can see it's doing a real good job, and the smaller one does as good of a job as the bigger one. Now this is a little bit of a wet hole, and what they're going to do is they're going to hit this wet hole here where it's kind of rutted up a little bit. They're going to hit it a couple times to get that kind of smoothed out here. Kind of get that done up so that we can run a mower through it and not see any problems. So Alex is just doing some cleanup work here, packing in some tracks, fixing some tracks rather. And as you can see, they're doing a real nice job. They're just disrupting the soil just enough so that when we have Carovail spread the fertilizer with the seed, there's enough soil there to make a nice seed bed. So we'll go ahead and come up into this upper side of the field here where Carovail is spreading. Now this farm is the same farm, it's just down the road a little farther from where they're spreading manure. They're actually spreading manure. We're gonna be running the drone up in the air. Those fields that you could see way up in front of us there, kind of in the center of the screen, that's where they're spreading manure. So up on this upper side is where Carovail is running their air spreader. This has it has booms on it, kind of like a sprayer does, but it's all run by air. So we'll get up to the top of the field here. Kind of fly around him a little bit here. He can move right along. He probably goes 30 miles an hour. He'll have this 40 acres done up in here in about an hour. As you can see, he's moving right along there. Okay, well, that'll give you an idea of what that looks like, and I'm gonna get back to the shop and see if I can't get the rest of the knives in that chopper. So we'll join back up with you once we get back to the shop. As you can see, he can move right along. I don't know what size those booms are on that. It must be 30 feet maybe. And he can go about 30 miles an hour. He could probably do 60 acres an hour there. So he just goes back and forth, back and forth. He's going to be done with this in no time. So we'll join back up with you when we get back to the shop. Alright, for these next couple clips, I gotta kind of do a voiceover here. The boys are field spreading with a few trucks just because that frac tank was getting overfilled, or it wasn't getting overfilled, but the guys in the field couldn't keep up. So we separated these guys a little bit, and we ended up having these guys field spread. Now the one truck that you just seen spreading, that's one of Newton's straight trucks. That gentleman ended up following Tim over to the field, and as you can see, Tim's offloading his load with the C5 and the red diller tanker. Now, if you happen to notice on this tanker here, the spread plate is mounted lower. This has got a low spread option on it. They ended up putting a T-valve just above the fan housing and you can hook your spread plate up onto that. And it kind of cuts down a little bit on the smell of the manure, but we don't really do too much field spreading with trucks anyway, so that doesn't much matter anyhow. Right here in this clip, we've got Jared spreading along with 2 tractor trailers that belong to Newton as well. And these gentlemen had to follow Jared over to the field because they didn't know quite where this farm was. This farm here is in Camillus. This is the Hudson farm on Monroe Road. And this field here, or this farm, was the last of the wheat that we cut. Now you might be asking, why is he overlapping so much? He's overlapping because they just can't put enough manure on with these trucks, even in low gear spreading. They're not getting as much on this ground as we can get on with a tractor drawn spreader. And then of course you can't drive the trucks into the manure because the trucks will just spin out. They'll lack traction. So these guys, they can spread. Their load lasts a little bit longer than the length of the field. In this next part of the clip, you'll see Jared turning over to the other side of the field, and he ends up offloading the last little bit that he has in his tanker. Now these 3 tankers are all the same size. They're all 8,000 gallon tankers, and they're hauling about 11 miles away from the farm. This one particular field's like 16 or 17 acres, and other field down next to the houses there. We end up, we're gonna end up coming over onto this farm with the injector spreader and inject the manure that's closer to that one house. The people of this farm is right near a residential neighborhood in Camillus, and they weren't too happy with us when we were applying manure with the spread plate. They like the manure injectors on other spreaders because the manure doesn't smell as bad. So that's just about gonna wrap up this clip here with these guys field spreading with the trucks. And as you can see, Jared is empty. He only had maybe 600 or 800 gallons on. Well, we got back here quite a little while ago from the field, and we ended up getting all the knives in the chopper here. We've got a new Duraliner shear bar in there, along with all brand new knives and bolts and everything like that. We have to shim up the spiral band. I'm going to do that here in the morning. There's the shims there. Then that'll finish that whole job up there. And we need to put this panel on the back side of the transition chute. Right where the KP goes in, there's a chute that moves out of the way, and we've got holes that are blown through that. Here is the old shear bar that came out. Now the hard surface is right there, and they're up, and we have wore past the hard surface on this shear bar. We must have been losing a ton of horsepower because of how rounded this shear bar is. So we're hoping that this shear bar here lasts a lot longer. A regular shear bar this year is kind of different anyways, but we can't run a whole set of knives, or we haven't been able to run a whole set of knives with one side of the shear bar this year yet. Well, we've only done 2 cuttings, but yeah, so we couldn't get that any farther than that. So there's a little bit of wear surface left on this back side. We could save this one and we can use it over again. Here is one of the knives that got knocked back. There's quite a lot of hard surface left to it, but all the rest of the knives had about half of this left to it. Now, I spoke earlier about how much this job cost, and it's $4,860 minus $100 sharpening stone, because there's 2 on this bill. So it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,760 bucks. Put a set of knives and to put this Duraliner shear bar in. So that's gonna do it for this one, folks. Tomorrow morning I'll bolt this back together, put the parts into it, the little bit that I've got left, and I'm gonna start putting alfalfa seedings in the ground. So I want to thank you for watching, and we will catch you at the next video.